up, weirdos? I'm Felicia, and I like scary movies, and here's the thing I realized this week. I am a little behind on some 2020 horror films. So I took some time this week to catch up on technically four new 2020 horror films that have come out over the last couple of months, and I'm gonna tell you my thoughts on each. The first one I watched was Freaky, and of course I was just waiting for this one to hit VOD. I live in New York, so we haven't had our movie theaters open, of course, because of the coronavirus, and so I hadn't had an opportunity yet to see it, and so I rented it on Amazon. I paid the big bucks, baby, and it was worth every penny. This movie is just exactly the type of horror movie I needed at the end of one of the worst years in our history. I know that's a huge statement, but I just needed something fun and fast and furious and silly and over the top. I needed all of that. And this movie really gave it to me. It was directed by Christopher Landon, who is of course the guy behind Happy Death Day. And I think these two movies have a similar feeling to them, where they're horror movies, there's comedy aspects, and they're just fast and furious and fun. And I really love that, and I can't wait for him to make even more movies because I loved both of these. If you don't know what Freaky is about, it I'm sure takes its title from Freaky Friday, but after swapping bodies with a deranged serial killer, a young girl in high school discovers she has less than 24 hours before the change becomes permanent. And the two actors we have are Vince Vaughn playing the butcher or the serial killer, and then Catherine Newton playing Millie, the high school teenager. And we had this beautiful and amazing Chucky Child's Play moment when they end up switching bodies via this knife. I don't know if anyone else got those vibes, but I was like, oh, a nice little Child's Play reference. But as you can tell, I just really love this movie. I thought Vince Vaughn was hilarious. I thought Catherine Newton did a great job. I loved all of her like BFFs, like the side characters. I thought they were all so cool and awesome. My only complaint about this movie is that you never really find out much about the butcher and his serial killer journey. And I kind of wish we had got a little more information about him so we kind of knew the stakes of him being in the body of a teenage girl. Like, we kind of got like the general sense, like it's bad, he's a serial killer, but I wanted more gruesome details maybe or something. But my favorite thing about this movie was definitely the creative kills. Sometimes it almost gave me this sense of like a Final Destination feeling where it's like people dying in these really unexpected ways, and I loved it. The next one I watched is Come Play, and I haven't really heard much about this movie. I heard a few people say they liked it. I'm pretty sure it came out in theaters at some point this year, but I of course watched it on VOD. If you don't know, here's the plot. A monster named Larry manifests itself through smartphones and mobile devices. So we have a young boy named Oliver who has autism and he does not speak. He uses devices like an iPhone, iPad, etc. to speak. And this monster, Larry, kind of like an imaginary friend situation, starts communicating with him through his devices. And here's what I thought about this one. Concept, I actually thought was very interesting. They had a lot of shots of kind of Larry's perspective from inside an iPhone or inside an iPad, and I thought that was really interesting and like getting onto something. But for me, and I always hate saying this film suffered from very bad acting, which can always be associated with potentially poor writing. A lot of times those things can go hand in hand, and sometimes it's hard to tell like who the culprit really is, but I will say a lot of the acting, a lot of the words coming out of actors' mouths, I was just like, I don't believe you. I don't believe that this is your child. I don't believe you would say that to your child. It just felt inauthentic. I do see that this was based off of a short film that the writer-director Jacob Chase did, I think in 2017. And I can totally see how this would have made an amazing short film because the concept is there. But once you have turned it into a full feature, the character development and the acting just wasn't up to par for me. So that's how I felt, and so thus at times I was bored. But I did like the creature of Larry itself, and I liked the concept. And the next one I watched, finally, is Possessor by Brandon Cronenberg. I was so excited about this movie, but we of course must mention Brandon Cronenberg is the son of Canadian famous body horror director David Cronenberg, and I thought this movie was freaking awesome. I'm gonna read you the plot. So Possessor follows an agent who works for a secretive organization that uses brain implant technology to inhabit other people's bodies, ultimately driving them to commit assassinations for high-paying clients. So this kind of has this like Black Mirror-esque feeling to it, where it's a reality that's very close to ours, but technology has advanced to a certain point where very bad things are starting to go down. This movie stars Andrea Riseborough, who I freaking loved in Mandy. I thought she was so amazing, and she's also really good in this movie too. She's playing our lead, and then we also have Christopher Abbott playing our sort of male lead, and he looks so familiar to me from what feels like a very familiar role, but I couldn't figure out what it was. I looked all through his IMDb. It might have been It Comes at Night. It might have been The Sinner. Who was he in The Sinner? Maybe it was The Sinner. Hard to say. By the way, I love that show. But overall, I thought this was just such a cool sci-fi horror film. It gave me the tension and the scares I wanted, and it kind of blew my mind in certain ways. I also really loved the film techniques that Brandon Cronenberg used to disorient me as the viewer and also show the disorientation of the characters. I really liked it, and then I freaking love that mask. It's on the poster. I'm obsessed with this mask, and the way it's used in the movie is not how I expected. And I just loved it. I was like, ew, I love it. Ew, I love it. And the last thing I watched, which I just finished a few minutes ago, I was gonna do a whole review on it, but I decided to just throw it in here. And that is the Shudder Holiday Creepshow special. It's a 45-minute holiday special. And because it's so short, I feel like I didn't have a ton to say about it, but I will tell you my thoughts right now.
There's a killer on the loose in Naperville. Only comes out when the moon is full.
Okay, Merry Christmas.
I did not like it at all for the first 35 minutes. And then the last 10 minutes, I loved it. And that's what I'll say. The concept is totally ridiculous. It's the cheesiest thing I've ever seen, which I think Creepshow should be, so I think that's a good thing. And the absurdity of the last 10 minutes I found hilarious. But I kind of wish there had been more of that throughout the whole thing, because the first 35 minutes to me feels like boring build up and bad acting and like characters that are totally unlikable, and they use guns at a certain point for an attack, and I think guns in horror movies are just so lazy. And then they finally do give you what you want, and when you watch it you'll know what I mean by what you want. They finally do give you what you want, and I'm so grateful for that. But just like all the gun stuff, I'm just like, that was the only way you could think to do this part. It just felt so lazy to me. But the last 10 minutes is not lazy. They really went for it. It's totally cheeseballs, ridiculous, really fun. That Creepshow holiday special drops on Friday, I think at midnight, so you can check it out then. I will link all of this down below and update the description when the Shudder special comes out. And that's everything I've watched. If there are other 2020 horror films that you want to make sure that I see, please put them in the comments down below. Also, if you've been watching my videos and haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you in the next one. Have a nice scream. Bye.